So today we're going to finish up with first things first. And I have actually seen that I went actually through the whole book quite, and I am very, I'm actually very sorry that I didn't recognize that, because there's only just a very little and small part left there for us to go through. And, but yeah, I think it is fine. And I'm just gonna go through this tiny little bit, and then afterwards we are gonna talk about another book, and we're gonna go through another book which is called Emotional Agility, which I think sounds pretty interesting. And I've also had a very slight look at it to just kind of also maybe verify that and see whether it is actually the case and whether it is actually just important or sensible to go through that. But yeah, so first things first, recap, which is actually a pretty cool thing, that it is a recap and that I'm having an own episode on that recap. But anyway, so in general, people tend to focus on the wrong things in life that cause stress and disharmony. However, we need to identify our priorities, replace urgency with importance, and strike a balance between all the tasks in order to increase the quality of life. If you have a future-oriented vision, you can set effective goals. You can reach happiness and inner peace by putting your first things first instead of putting the urgent or smaller things first. Imagine your ideal 80th birthday, which is another point, and the last point is, okay, it's actually the second point. What do you see? Who is around you, and what have you achieved? To identify your most important goals, the imagination of your life when you are 80 will help you. After you determine your goals and first things, you can start working for them. So I do want to clarify that a little tiny bit. When you're imagining yourself on your 80th birthday, do you see a person with a lot of children, a big family, or do you see a person with a big house, with a business, with a company, and knowing that you have maybe changed something in the world? Or maybe a little bit of both, having a big house, being financially very stable, but still having those many grandchildren and these many children per se as well. What do you see? I really want to clarify that a little bit, so that because they also pointed it out in a previous part of the whole summary, and I do believe that it is important. I do believe that it is important to just know what he's aiming for and know what he's looking for, and yeah, think about that. What do you want to do? And yeah, actually, what do you want to do based on who are you willing to be when you're older? And I do actually have to say that the 80th birthday is actually a pretty good landmark, to be honest. You're not you're pretty old, but you're not too old. You could still change things, and you can still live your life, but you've still just seen quite a lot, and you've still also done quite a lot, hopefully. Really something that I'm hoping for, because I guess and also believe that doing things is the variable, which is kind of clear and I think also sensical. But on the other hand, do lots of things, do different things, do things you haven't done before, and all of these various approaches and sorts of things. But yeah, let's go through the next book, which is called Emotional Agility, and is once again by the bestbookbits.com site. I do actually quite like this site. It is, as you can see, pretty detailed, and also pretty a relatively long summary, which is quite often something good. But it obviously also depends on how it is written. If it is just really not well written, then it is a little bit of a bad thing, but yeah, anyway. I'm, by the way, sorry if I'm a little bit, or sound a little bit fucked. And I'm actually, it reminds me of school times, to be honest. Recording so late and having done so much in a day, quite in theory. Really quite only in theory, because in fact, it's not been that much. It's really not been that much, and it's, if I could kind of structure it, then I would have been able to structure it in a way, I think, more efficient way, I guess. But I hope to just better that tomorrow and see what I can do with that. I'm gonna see. It always takes a little bit of time when you're just getting into new positions and new phases of your life to just adjust to that phase, and also just make the best out of it, and just also time-wise manage your time the best way. I would say. But yeah, let's see. Emotional Agility, which is, by the way, written by Susan David, can be considered a manual for complete behavioral change. It is normal that at some point in life, everyone may need this kind of change. This book will explain how our past emotions and experiences influenced us. The key to learning to deal with your emotions is, first of all, not to ignore them, but to understand what they mean. Seeking to think beyond the present is also essential. We must think how our attitudes influence our future. Are we acting according to our projects and life goals? Do we deny our beliefs to be accepted? Learn to work differently and reach your full potential. Find out more about having a well-developed emotional intelligence with this reading, or read, or whatever. How to correctly feel your emotions, which is the first point apparently. Everyone goes through periods of change and uncertainty in life. During these times, we will probably experience many emotions. Nevertheless, we learn from an early age that negative emotions such as sadness, anger, and fear are bad. We learned that Cinderella was sad and needed a beautiful dress and a prince to make her happy. There is also the famous expression of the emotional repressed. Big boys don't cry, which is the dumbest fucking bullshit there is. When you think of the various emotions humans are capable of feeling, like fear and joy, sadness, guilt, contempt, deception, you realize that most of them are considered harmful. If we are meant to be happy, then why do these negative emotions exist? We are told to, quote unquote, think positively, and we are busy trying to overcome those expectations that we stop listening to our own emotions, which is not a very good thing. When you give a false smile or force yourself to be happy, you're ignoring vital signs that exist to guide you in the right direction. Fear, for example, may arise to give you a warning. If you were not afraid, you might think jumping off a cliff is a good idea. Negative emotions are not the problem. Rejecting their existence or considering them excessively negative, on the other hand, are one of the biggest obstacles to our emotional development. This is very important. This is indeed actually fucking important. I do want to repeat this. Negative emotions are not the problem. Rejecting their existence, or, which is at least in my point of view more important, considering them excessively negative, on the other hand, are one of the biggest obstacles that our emotional development. And I'm not gonna lie, it is something at this point in time, and this is also why I'm finding it so important, something that I do. I do have quite a lot of negative emotions at this point in time. I don't know if just people can tell. Online at least, I don't know, my leisure time or just my private life, they probably can tell. Anyway, the thing is, negative emotions are important. Negativity is important to some degree. Being too negative on the other hand as well is not good, but seeing those negative emotions in a good light does make sense. Really does. We deal with this type of emotion in one of these ways, keeping all the emotions or worrying too much about them. Indeed. The person who holds on to their beliefs seeks to, quote unquote, ignore them all, which leaves them suffocated until they explode in unhealthy ways. An overconcerned person, on the other hand, overanalyzes emotions, worrying about everything in a vicious cycle until sinking into thoughts. These two techniques are detrimental to our emotional well-being and often cause problems in your relationships at work and home. While there are situations that require you to guard your feelings, such as a test, for example, you must learn to feel your emotions. We can achieve this in 4 steps. The first step is be present. Feel your emotions and acknowledge them. Then take a step back, create distance and see the situation more clearly, which is, for example, relatively easily done by writing things down. And this is also, I actually haven't pointed it out, I think, then, but I thought about I should start journaling. First of all, it is just doing me good in this sense, that I can just keep a little bit of a distance between my thoughts and emotions and myself. And second of all, I might be able to practice writing. I'm not a good writer, and I would also consider myself being not that good of an communicator. I think it depends on the language, because I believe that when it is about English, then I'm able to talk better and I'm able to communicate better. When it is about written or verbal or whatever, I kind of feel like that I am able to communicate better compared to communicating or speaking or writing in German. I'm very not good at it, But yeah, anyway. Take action based on your own values and long-term goals and then let it go. Accept your decision and go ahead. Each emotion is felt for a reason, and only after we actually allow all our emotions will we learn how to live to the fullest, and we can be true to our personal values and also goals. Let's actually mark that or highlight it. Let's see. Identify the difference between fear and intuition. Every day we make decisions, and most of them are influenced by our emotions. We usually validate our decisions by saying that we have an intuition, which may be true in some cases. However, the problem with this approach is that our emotions are not always reliable. Really not. As we go through the ups and downs of life, we begin to collect stories of defeats that we repeat when we need some comfort. For example, I'm terrible at multitasking, or I hate working with strong personalities in the office. That ends up influencing our daily decisions, since we can dismiss a talent candidate in an interview for being a bit dramatic or avoid taking on a new project that could lead to a promotion because we do not believe we are capable. We are stuck in these old stories, and we need to learn how to detach ourselves to deal with real situations. Do you know how to differentiate an intuition from an automatic response based on a past experience that was triggered by fear? Apply the 4 steps we mentioned earlier to a current situation that you found stressful. I see. Yeah. For example, you learned that a work project that thrilled you would not happen because of budget constraints. At first, you feel angry. Your instinct is to give up and start looking for other jobs. Instead, take the time to be present and quote unquote be present, and realize that this situation had triggered a memory of a time in the past when you were devalued and lost your job. You can then take a step back and realize that your boss simply has no money now, and that the company values you enough to tell you personally about the situation. So now you feel disappointed and are no longer rejected. Instead of being angry, you decide to express this disappointment in a constructive way. Following the 4 steps explained above will help you differentiate intuition from fear and gain clarity to face the situation in front of you. You can then decide what attitude will take and move on, knowing that you have had the best decision for you. Very, 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 very important things. And I do kind of want to be a little bit transparent today. I don't know why, but currently it's a little bit overdone, I guess. But at this point in time, somehow I'm going through a breakup. At least I'm going through it, if you know what I mean. And it is very difficult for me at this point in time. I actually don't really know why, since it's been 3 months ago actually, but now I'm really feeling it. I really am feeling it. It could be due to just me not having too much time to think about things, and this is also, by the way, something that I'm hoping for right now, since I'm in a new situation with a job and stuff and shit and blah blah blah. Quite, at least, not really at this point in time, but I'm hoping to, to get through this little bit of just learning time and stuff till I actually get to the job quite. And but yeah, anyway, what I want to say is I think it is very important to not only see the good, I guess. Not only seeing the good in the other person, first of all, and second of all, not only seeing the bad in the situation that you're having right now. And this is kind of what reminded me a little bit on that, just being like a little bit overly concerned about the situation, but by being present and by rationally, even though it's a little bit complicated, rationally thinking about it and being like, we broke up, and it is a decision that I've made and that I've taken, that I've took back 3 months ago. And back then, I thought that it is a good decision. Back then, I thought, with my current knowledge, even though at this point in time, I know, like, I am not going to make decisions in that way once again, I guess. This is something that I think I've learned. Really taking the time and really thinking through that, and actively thinking through that. And not being like, whoa, okay, let's just let it be what it is. I'm a little bit overdoing this as well, because it's obviously been a process, of kind of, distancing yourself from the other person and stuff. But still, it's nothing you should really, it's difficult to say, the problem is regret. And this is something to really keep in mind. The problem is regret. The problem is not necessarily making a bad decision or making a not so optimal decision, but the problem is regret. If you then regret it afterwards, then it is fucked up. But as I said before, like, based on my current knowledge at the time, I made this decision. So I know that, okay, going back, and it could also be about something completely different, like food choices. Not necessarily about relationships, but also about buying this car, buying this clothing, buying this whatever it's been that you could regret. You have probably made this decision because of certain reasons. Whether it's actually been okay, it was based on the knowledge that you had back then, or it could have been just based on some values you had back then that you're not having at this point in time because you have progressed, you have learned things, and you have seen new things. And I do really want to say that it's indeed all about just being present, thinking about it, and then distancing yourself from it and moving ahead and just really thinking about it. Because the thing is, and well, I should also point that out, being rational about things that are not rational is actually pretty dumb. Emotions are not rational. You don't think like, wow, okay, this person did something, so I'm now going to be angry. There's just way more to it. This is the problem, So rationalizing everything and just rational thinking about things to make these quote-unquote emotions go quote-unquote away might just not work, Sometimes it might work, but sometimes I think it's just going to be about sitting through the shit. It's tough times, but we have to sit through them. You have to sit down, and there is a storm, and the storm is going to pass eventually. It's going to be away. It's been in the past the case, if you've been in similar situations, and if you've been in whatever situations that you could somehow compare to that, you might just know that it is going to pass. You might just know that it is going to be good in the end as well, or once again, because it's going to be. It really is going to be. But of course, we just don't see it. And I also don't want to say that, and they also pointed out that you should be overly happy all the fucking time to combat that and whatnot. Like, nah, it is okay to be okay. You don't have to smile all the time. Being happy is very important. Just don't get me wrong. It's one of the most important things that I just know life has. But yeah, I think I might start journaling. I guess it could really do me good, but there's a little bit that I've left out for today. Following the 4 steps explained above will help you differentiate intuition from fear and gain clarity to face the situation in front of you. You can then decide what attitude will take and move on, knowing that you have made the best decision for you. I don't want to go through the 4 steps once again. Be present, feel your emotions, and acknowledge them. Take a step back, create distance, and see the situation more clearly. Take action based on your own values and long-term goals, and then let it go. Accept your decision and go ahead. Well, of course, it is easily said. That's not easily done, really not. But please try it. And with that being said, I really am willing to just end this episode there. So I wish you the best health, of happiness, and all success, and also hope that you're gonna remind yourself and you're gonna be remembered, which basically means your legacy, and basically means just being a nice person, then also being remembered as a nice person, which is always a good thing. Now I'm gonna actually eat something. I've probably consumed what could have been 600, well, not even 400 calories or something, and I think that I've just burned them again. So I'm gonna be in a just really huge calorie deficit today. I assume, at least. I really assume. I'm gonna eat quite something because I know that's gonna be probably the same tomorrow as well. But maybe I'm actually gonna deal with it in a different way. Anyway, so I wish you the best health, of happiness, and all success, and also hope that you're gonna remind yourself and you're gonna be remembered, which basically means your legacy, and basically means just being a nice person and then also being remembered as a nice person, which is a pretty cool thing. 3 other questions that I'm having for you is what could you change? Oh, what are you willing? What? 3 other questions that I'm having for you are, What will you change? What do you want to change? Well, what am I saying every time? 3 other questions that I have you are, what are you willing to change? I'm just normally saying something. If you want to change something, think about that and then just work towards that. And one question that's actually very important is, what could you say to another person that is going to make their day? It feels good. At this point in time, I think and feel like that it is one of the things that makes me the most happy, to be honest. You know, knowing that I can say something nice to another person. But yeah, anyway, wish you the best. Please stay healthy and safe. And I hope that's gonna be the same thing for your family as well. So bye bye. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I really truly appreciate that. And stay cool.